In recent months, I've been getting a lot of messages from people who experienced strange sensations looking at the moon while being in psychedelic states. I decided to talk about this because on one of my trips, something similar happened to me. As I was looking at the full moon from my window at night, I received a message that told me to leave the house and communicate with nature. It happened only once, and it was very strange because it felt as if the moon was transmitting some sort of magnetic energy I had never experienced before, and it wasn't a part of the type of psychedelic communication I'm usually subject to. This energy accompanied me for the rest of the trip, and I never paid much attention to what happened that night until a few months ago. Some of you started telling me about the same strange lunar energy being emitted at night, affecting you in a direct way like in my case. Because I've been researching this subject for 20 years, in this video I want to tell you why it is something you need to learn about, as the moon is not what you think it is. Social media platforms consider my attempts to educate and awaken you harmful, and I want to ask you to support this channel so that I can continue to help you become a more rational and conscious traveler on this journey. If you appreciate my efforts, join Patreon or Subscribestar, or say thank you with a PayPal, CashApp, and bank or cryptocurrency transfer. Visit the 434 shop or schedule a chat with me if you need someone to talk to. All links in the description. Remember that these videos can only exist if we all unite in our efforts. Thank you for your support. The moon existence theory is one of those examples of humans accepting reality as it is without ever questioning what it is that they're accepting. From the early age, we're being conditioned to believe what the moon is supposed to be, and we're forced to accept the story as it is sold to us. Those of us who start researching the logical and scientific aspects discover that the moon is a huge anomaly that defies all laws of physics and common sense. Social media censors all these discoveries, as is the case with everything that uncovers the lies, so let me tell you about only a few paradoxes I discovered over the years. Let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered why only one side of the moon is visible from any place on Earth? This is explained by an improbable theory of synchronized moon rotation around Earth that takes 27 days and is combined with moon's rotation on its axis that also coincidentally takes 27 days, which means that only one side of the moon always faces the Earth. This obviously makes very little sense considering Earth's wobbly movement in almost every possible direction, indicating that we would see the moon from many possible angles, yet that's not the case. According to astronomers, that spin doesn't resemble anything they know about other celestial bodies, and it is extremely unusual. This begs the question, what gave the moon this ideal spin that is permanently locked to Earth's rotation? It is the only moon in the solar system that has a stationary and almost perfect circular orbit. Keep in mind that the weight, altitude, speed, and course also need to be taken into account. This means that something or someone must have given this object an intentional combination of factors to stay on this impossible trajectory. Nobody has the answer to that question, and there is no logical theory behind this cosmic mystery of highly improbable mathematical proportions. There is also no working scientific theory as to what the moon is made of and how and when it appeared so close to Earth. This is an important question that we all should be asking ourselves, because the moon is too far to be a real satellite, and it's too big to have been captured by Earth's magnetic field. What you probably don't realize is that Earth's properties actually disqualify it from having any type of a moon. But if there was one, it should be a tiny rock smaller than 50 miles in diameter, yet the moon is 1/4 of Earth's diameter. The truth is that being more than 2,000 miles in diameter, the moon doesn't orbit the Earth. The Earth and the moon orbit each other around a point between them, which in itself is an impossibility, given a completely different mass and magnetic fields of these bodies. But the mystery of moon's size goes further than that. During an eclipse, the moon completely covers the sun, which is another incredible coincidence, given that the moon's diameter is 400 times smaller than that of the sun, and that the moon is 400 times closer to Earth than the sun. Their sizes are so perfectly identical that scientists claim to study the sun's visible corona because of that. And again, there's the same problem with this. The ideal distance and size of the moon is a mathematical impossibility, as is everything related to moon's physical properties. This gets even more bizarre when one wants to analyze the light properties of the moon. Given that this non-satellite travels through space on its elliptical path, depending on the distance to Earth in its particular phase, it should be visibly brighter and darker. Earth is over 70% reflective water. It is in reality a giant mirror, which means that there not only should be different shades of brightness of the moon should never be dark or disappear from our sky. In fact, it should be some shade of blue. The mainstream theory says that the moon is visible in the sky because it reflects the sunlight. The problem is that the moonlight has cooling properties and it has completely different light frequency spectrum. It is not sunlight. If the moon was really reflecting sun's rays, it would be illuminating all the clouds visible at night, not just the ones around its silhouette. Also, there is no visible spotlight on moon's surface and no shadow diffusion. It is equally lit and bright, violating all laws of optics and physics. There are no dull or sharp areas and the edges are not blurred, which would indicate a two-dimensional nature of moon's image. The shape of the shadow cast by the Earth does not correspond with real-life sphere models, nor does it during an eclipse, where the shape of the shadow should actually look like a sine wave. Anyone can check it themselves with a simple 3D sphere simulation. It is not just the light that is the problem. The clarity with which we can see the moon is beyond anything we can observe, not only in the sky, but on Earth. Moon is supposed to be hundreds of thousands of miles or kilometers away from Earth, yet we can clearly see every single crater on its surface. You can't achieve the same results in terms of clarity on Earth at 100 miles of kilometers, no matter at what altitude you look in the distance. Everything looks equally blurred whether observed from the ground or the top of Mount Everest. In fact, the moon craters themselves pose a huge mystery to any logically thinking observer. Although they are supposed to have been a result of meteorites hitting its surface over a long period of time, the craters created by the impact all have the same depth and appear to be a result of objects hitting all under the same angle. Another physical impossibility. We also don't see any new craters appearing on the surface in recorded human history, which is contradictory to the number of meteorites we observe from and on Earth. Many researchers, scientists, and astronomers, trying to understand the nature of this bizarre thing in the sky, came to a simple logical conclusion. The moon violates so many laws of physics and common sense that the only way to explain all of these phenomena is to accept the fact that the moon doesn't exist. And there's a lot that proves it. The evidence found in many parts of the world clearly shows that the moon came into Earth's orbit around 12,000 years ago, and many cultures around the world have identical ancient tales and depictions of moon being brought to the sky by someone or something. There was a tribe of aborigines in ancient Greece called Proselines, which translates to those before the moon. This is validated by the fact that there are no ancient moon maps in existence. None. But what we do have are reports of unexplained light flashes on the moon going back to Plato and Eratosthenes that people see to this day. In fact, the internet is filled with reports of the moon disappearing, changing speed, stopping, taking odd shapes, and even having a twin. One of the most important phenomena was discovered recently when people in every part of the world started observing what is now called a lunar wave. In the last few years, many amateur and professional astronomers caught on camera an unexplained magnetic interference line going across the surface of the moon. It appears digital, affecting only the moon, and there is no explanation for this. It seems to be a fixed event observed simultaneously by people from every place on Earth, and it only occurs when the moon gets near its full stance. The discovery has triggered a swift censorship on YouTube and a coordinated debunking effort, which, as always, would imply that it is an important revelation we all should know about. Of course, there's the issue of the journey to this magic rock in 1969, and as with everything, those who believe it actually happened belong to one of these two groups: the ones who never researched the available material and data, and those who don't have the ability or mental capacity to understand laws of logic and physics. 20 years ago, in the early days of the internet, after NASA uploaded the alleged pictures from the lunar exploration, I decided to analyze every single shot. That was the beginning of my awakening. I won't spend much time on describing what can be found there because it was extensively done by other researchers and many books have been written on this subject. All you need to know is that the material that this agency claims to be from the moon is an embarrassing farce that future generations will laugh at. I can show you my favorite discovery that forever made me give up on ever treating mainstream science seriously. Look at the screen as I present to you the light bulb in the sun. You can go to the official website to look up the picture yourself before it's removed or replaced, like in the case of all their other screw-ups. There is even an interesting accompanying psyop making rounds on the internet. Alien structures and bases on the surface of this planetoid apparently visible through telescopes. It seems to be another misinformation campaign that aims to reinforce the belief in the existence of the moon in the truth-seeking circles by exposing alleged top-secret truths. Another illogical and unscientific theory claims that moon creates tides on Earth's bodies of water with its magnetic field, and because the tide mechanism seems to be very complicated and not fully synchronized with the moon's cycles, in recent years a new theory was concocted according to which it is a combination of sun's magnetic field and few other magic forces that raise the water levels. To this day, no one can explain why there's only seas and oceans that are affected by this force, but not lakes, no matter how big they are. This appears to be another interesting proof that the moon is not real. But what is real is the effect that moon's presence has on you and all life on Earth, and that's something we need to look at closely. The moon's light is septic, which means that it causes the degradation of organic matter. It used to be a common practice to warn sailors on board of ships to not sleep on the deck in the full moonlight to avoid resulting health problems. Historically, moon's light has been linked to insanity, and that's where the word lunacy comes from, as it has been discovered that the bipolar disorder switches from depression to mania at the same phase of the lunar cycle. Animals react to the moon with howling, which to this day is a symbol for fear and danger. Many studies found a correlation between people visiting emergency rooms after being bitten by animals and the full moon. The lunar cycle is also related to sleep deprivation and women's menstrual cycles. In fact, everyone's blood pressure drops during new moon and full moon. It has also been discovered that motorcycle accident fatalities increase drastically on the nights with a full moon in the sky. So what is this thing above our heads that we see every night? It is clear that it doesn't have a positive effect on us. There are a few theories, and one of them is that this dusty satellite is an actual spaceship. People like Alex Collier or David Icke believe that the moon is a giant extraterrestrial craft hiding under fake debris on its surface. It is supposed to be an artificial satellite projecting and amplifying signals from Saturn, controlling earthly reality. Some people claim it's made of plasma. There are obviously theories of the moon being an optical illusion, probably a hologram, and this goes back decades or even centuries and has been discussed as probability many times in the past. Given the information that we have from psychedelic realm and the way we perceive the moon in psychedelic states, I think it's important that we discuss the possibility of the moon being a simulated projection. And the reason I'm saying this is because if you add Earth's radius and moon's radius, you actually end up with the square root of the phi, the number I discussed in previous videos, explaining synchronicities and the algorithmic nature of our reality. And because according to this equation, the moon is also an expression of the earthly algorithm, we might risk a theory that it might actually be its source. Like in the movie Truman Show, it's possible that the moon is some sort of a control room or a matrix generating machine, projecting our simulation here. It might be even a soul recycling device if you want to believe in the soul trap theory and the reason why we come back to this matrix. If we assume that it is not a sphere but a two-dimensional picture we see in the sky, we need to ask why is it being projected or what is hidden behind it. We also need to ask who created it. Someone on Earth? Aliens? What is the purpose of moonlight being toxic? And why is it even visible? Wouldn't it make more sense to keep it hidden if surveillance or control was its main purpose? Why does it affect our sleeping patterns, even if we are far from its light? All calculations point to the fact that it is in reality only a few hundred miles away from us, not hundreds of thousands. Why is it so close? Why does the establishment want us to believe so desperately in its existence? Is the truth a threat to them, or is it something they think we couldn't handle? If it is a spaceship, where did it come from and who does it belong to? If it is a hologram, who are we? Where are we and what is the nature of the world we live in? And why is this hologram's projection so primitive and irrational? Why was the movie Truman Show made, potentially exposing the truth? And why do we feel like it's trying to contact us in psychedelic states? I think this would be the first 434 video without an objective conclusion. So if you have any theories or some knowledge about the moon, leave a comment below and maybe we can all get to the truth together. One thing is certain, question everything that you're told and don't take anything at face value, especially if it has been staring you in the face your whole life. Thank you for watching, and on your way out, please sponsor this channel through methods listed on the screen. Subscribe and follow, like and share this video. For merchandise, go to shop.b434.com. Leave your email address at news.b434.com. Visit the website of the artist and the musician I featured here. For more info or contact, visit b434.com and join 434's social media on YouTube, Facebook, BitChute, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and VK. Talk to each other on Reddit, Discord, and Telegram. All links in the video description.